In my world there is music and good vibes and laughter and lovers, adventure and friendship. We know who we are.
Welcome to Be the Wellness Podcast, where we help you master your body, mind, and the experience of life through insightful conversation, interviews with experts and thought leaders, all with a side of marital banter and some good old-fashioned humor.
Yes, we are your hosts, Adam and Vanessa Lambert, and we're committed to helping you live life fully expressed physically, mentally, and experientially. Sit back, grab a cup of coffee, and join the conversation.
Hello and welcome everybody to Be the Wellness Podcast. Adam and Vanessa Lambert podcasting from Joshua Tree.
Joshua Tree, live from J Tree.
JT.
These are the JT sessions.
The JT RV sessions.
The RV sessions. Actually, to be fair, this particular session is actually a Malibu session.
It's true.
And what a session it was, right?
Yep.
We had the absolute honor to go join Anahata Ananda, who was introduced to us by our good friend Josh Trent over at Wellness Force Radio. And he, Josh has this amazing way of connecting people and just knowing who needs to meet who. And it's just really, it's one of his gifts for sure.
He's got a knack for it.
Yes, he is a connector for sure.
He's a knacker. Yeah.
So we definitely, we're so excited to go join Anahata in Malibu to receive one of her Shamangelic breathwork sessions.
Yeah. A Shamangelic Healing.
A Shamangelic Healing.
Which is a whole thing.
Yes.
Which we'll get into in depth.
Yes, we will. Absolutely. But, we are like, yeah, let's do it. We show up at this incredible location in Malibu. And if you haven't had a chance, check out my Instagram post. There's a couple of photos of this beautiful house. I mean, this house is literally a work of art in itself that we got to receive this healing at, which, it's one of the things I really believe in is the power of the location. And it's something that we really look for when we're scouting for our retreats and for our events is like the vibe of the location itself, because it contributes so much to the experience. Yeah. And that's what this home did in Malibu. It was just a really, really beautiful container for this experience.
Yeah, totally. Like in the psychedelic world, everybody talks about set and setting, right? And so it's like the mindset and then the setting, like where you are, impacts the experience. And I think that that's true, like everywhere, like psychedelics or no psychedelics, like where you are and the mindset that you are bringing to it, like impacts every single thing that you do every day. It's like, so to your point of us picking locations for our retreats that feel good, that's just what's up. You show up at a place that is inspiring and then show up with the right mindset of being open to the experience. And that's where the magic happens,
Yeah, absolutely. And then add a little shamangelic, magic. It's just like, it's an undeniable, combination.
Situation.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what is also like shamangelic and heaven and location and all these things we're talking about?
Yes.
You do? What?
New Zealand.
You knew it by my description.
Yeah. When I go to New Zealand, the only thing I think of is shamangelic. It's like the word that comes right to the top of my mind.
It's actually so true, though. I mean, I was writing this post on Instagram a few weeks ago about what surprised me the most about New Zealand. And it really was, the closest place to heaven on earth. And I mean that in all sincerity. Like I've never been somewhere that has that feeling, that has that beauty, that has that friendliness. I mean, even there's no poisonous bugs or snakes or spiders or anything. Right. I'm like, what? Like this is definitely this is a loophole.
Yeah. No, it really does seem like a loophole in a lot of ways. And I'm sure people who are way more tapped into like geopolitical issues and stuff like that might have something else to say about it. But I mean, the actual experience of being there, it's not like anything that I've experienced anywhere else. I mean, the people are incredibly friendly. Like they've done a really good job, at least from my perspective, of like integrating the sort of, local, I don't know what the word is, but it's like there's a feeling of being there, of being in New Zealand that is like a different. It's different. So it's like if you were to go to Hawaii, right, and everybody talks about aloha, and you go to Costa Rica and it's Pura Vida, and in New Zealand it's, I'm gonna butcher it, but it's the what is it? It's Kia ora or whatever.
Oh, kia ora.
Kia ora, which is like their hello, right? But it's also like a feeling. It's a thing that comes through. Yeah, which, by the way, funny story. When I first started communicating with folks out in New Zealand, they kept addressing the email kia ora. And I'm like, why do they all think my name is Kia ora? Like, I'm like looking at my email address and I'm like, wow, what's going on here? And I'm like, oh, that's hilarious. Got it. It's a thing.
It's a thing. Yeah.
And it really permeates like the whole deal. You know, it permeates everything out there. And they've done such a good job, I feel, of, you know, adopting and sort of commingling the kind of Western influence with the Maori culture. And it's just a cool place, man. It is really special. Yeah. So we're really looking forward to our return in April. And, you know, if New Zealand is on your list at all, it's like on the bucket list whatsoever, I just really encourage you to jump in, because I'll share with you that it took me months and months and months to plan this trip. It is a logistical doozy. Like, it really is. And we've got it dialed. We've got the restaurants dialed. We've got the food dialed. We've got it literally turnkey dialed, so that all you have to do is show up, hop in, and enjoy yourself and really everything that New Zealand has to offer. So highly recommend, if it's on your bucket list, get at us. Come and do it. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Visit the link in the in the show notes. I'm used to Instagram. Yeah, I know. So tap bio. Tap bio. Nope. All right, guys, let's move on to Anahata, because this was such a beautiful conversation. Again, we were able to go back to the beautiful location in Malibu and do this live. So that really translates. But I really want to give you, I want to read Anahata's bio, because I really think it gives you an overview of just what we're working with here with the beautiful Anahata. Anahata Ananda blends the compassion and tenderness of an angel and the wisdom and strength of a shaman to guide profound journeys of core healing and spiritual awakening. As a certified high-performance coach, Shamangelic Healer and Soul guide, Anahata has guided thousands of individuals through core life shifts, helping them to turn their life around and manifest the life of their dreams. Anahata is the host of the internationally acclaimed Shamangelic Healing Podcast, which Adam and I will be on as well, so check that out. She is the founder of the Shamangelic Healing, rather than based in Sedona, Arizona, where she offers high-performance coaching, inspirational workshops, group retreats, private healing sessions, and online courses. So check her out at shamangelichealing.com. And yeah, and she's offering up a really cool goodie for us that we don't actually talk about until the very end of the podcast. So we wanted to throw it out in the beginning to make sure you don't miss this part. But you can click the link down there and go and download a spirit animal guide. Exactly. So like to understanding what the animal spirits are saying. And we talk about it at the end of the podcast, so it'll make more sense. Yep. But if for whatever reason you don't have the chance to get all the way through it, make sure you go click the link and get your guide, because it's going to be cool. Yeah, absolutely. We go deep into the animals towards the end. So if you can make it towards the end, there's some real good gems there. And, you know, this conversation was just really beautiful. It was one of those that we just left feeling like more complete than when we began. And those are the conversations that we just live for on this podcast. And we hope that you guys feel that through the airwaves. Without further ado, here's Anahata. Welcome to the podcast, Anahata.
Oh my gosh, it is such a blessing to see your shining faces here. And we're here in Malibu, just dropping this podcast on a stunning day.
A beautiful day.
After a beautiful, epic, deep, soulful, shamangelic breathwork journey last night, where I got to hold space for each of you. And
it was beautiful. Yeah. You know, I want to start with your name.
Yeah.
Because obviously I look at you and you're this gorgeous blonde-haired, blue-eyed Caucasian woman.
Yes. You noticed.
I noticed.
It's out.
And it is, it's officially out. And the reason I want to ask it, because I think it might actually allude to some of your story and your background. So I'm hoping that through the story of your name and how it came about to become Anahata, you can share with us maybe some of your backstory and journey.
Yeah, that was part of my spiritual journey. And after my dark night of the soul, I kind of dove into finding the light again. And I dove into shamanic healing to kind of help me remove the density and anger and resentment and sadness and grief and the disconnection from my truth and my light that had been accumulating from different experiences, giving my power away or feeling like it had been taken away. And so the journey started with shamanic healing. And so there's also a medicine named Dancing Butterfly, which was about my rebirth. And that was kind of more my shamanic name. And as I moved also into the spiritual arts, meditation and yoga and working with energy and divine guidance, then my spiritual name came, which is Anahata Ananda, which means blissful heart.
Beautiful.
And when I first got that, I was like, whoa, that's like a lot of light there. And I'm like, well, I only let a few people know that was my spiritual name. And like my dear soul family would call me Anahata, and I was kind of in the closet about it until I could feel that I was more blissful heart than not, which at that point I couldn't say. That was my intention and my home. That was my home state, is to come back to blissful heart. But it was still a lot of personal development and unraveling what I had lost in order to reclaim this part that is that. And it's not always that. It's not always.
You're still human.
It reminds me, though, that that's my home. And that's my desire, and that's my intention, to land in and embody and express as a blissful heart.
I love it. Beautiful. Yeah. I think that last night we got to experience your Shamangelic Healing here in Malibu in this beautiful space, which we'll be sharing photos, because it's, even though photos could never really display how beautiful it is, we'll be sharing them just so people can get a glimpse. But as soon as we came into this space, obviously we were struck by the beauty and the magnificence of this space, but right with it was your warmth and your kindness and just a welcoming spirit and gentleness and humor, which I find highly evolved.
Yeah, totally.
Humor, to me, is one of the most highly evolved, on the spectrum. And so I really appreciated that we just came and really were swooped into your world and immediately felt just welcome and at home. And so, your name, Blissful Heart, it's just immediately felt. It's immediately present in the room. And so that is definitely, if you didn't know this already, it's surely your spiritual name. It's approved. Yeah. Coach approved.
Thank you.
Yeah.
This is part of feeling safe, because my Dharma work, what I do in my Shamangelic Healing practice in Sedona, is supporting people's deep transformations. And that means I need to establish a trust with people. We're complete strangers are walking into the ceremony last night who I've never met before, and I have a period of time to create rapport, trust, respect, and safety and integrity, so that people are free to go and release and see and feel some of the deepest, darkest stuff and feel safe and supported. And if I haven't established that trust and that safety, the ceremony's not going to go very deep. And each person's journey depends on that. And when I notice nervousness in the room, I am going to go to humor. As in my medicine bag, there's laughter, the tool of laughter, there's the tool of honesty, there's the tool of inspiration, there's the tool of humility. There's all these different aspects to bridge into somebody else's experience, so that we can create this human rapport that allows us to drop the walls and open the heart and feel safe to go into the dark abyss of that pain from way back then, or the unworthiness or the loneliness that may be lurking in our unconscious, affecting and sabotaging our dreams, our happiness, our abundance, our health. And so I like to go deep into the core, and so that level of trust and compassion and humor is a doorway to provide that safe space.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. I never really thought about it from that perspective, but I mean, it's clearly true, you know, and especially so, and maybe we should just talk a little bit more about the actual ceremony and the breath work, because, you know, it's not fair to compare modalities, you know, necessarily, but I'm thinking about if you're going into a like plant medicine ceremony, it's like, yeah, you need to trust the shaman and you need to do this and you need to do that, but the medicine's going to take you where you're going, you know what I mean? But with the breath work, it's even so much more important what you're saying, to be able to trust and release and let go, because at the end of the day, you can just kind of slow down your breathing and half-ass it and not necessarily get where you need to go. So it's, yeah, that rapport, the trust, the setting of the entire thing is like arguably more important in this work.
This is, you know, part of my integrity around my healing practice is that safety and rapport and trust. It's essential. And that's what makes a good practitioner, is they're on time, they're present, you know, all of these fundamental things that we don't really think about are essential. And when I teach my training courses to other people that are wanting to facilitate in the healing arts in some capacity, that's the first thing we teach, is integrity and presence, because otherwise we're not going to get anywhere. You can say, well, I'm going by the book, I'm doing all the things. It's like, where's your heart? Where's your presence? Where's your caring? Where's your integrity? Where's your groundedness? You're somewhere else. How can you hold space for somebody's deep core wound if you're somewhere else? You're still engaged in a text that you got 5 minutes before. Like then you're not really practicing presence.
So I want to stop and just really hover on this word shamangelic, because it's not something that I've heard before. And it's like, I just want to know, what is this word? What is this modality? And where did it come from?
Oh, thank you for that. It's so juicy, because, you know, when I was in high school, I realized that I wasn't the best athlete, but I played, and I played hard. And I wasn't the smartest, I wasn't the valedictorian, but like I studied and I got good grades, and you know, all of the different aspects. I realized that I'm an integrationalist. I do it all. I do lots of stuff, and I can relate to all the different groups and cliques and clans, because you know, it's part of me is that I'm not a specialist. And I found that in my healing work, it's shamanic. There's a lot of principles that I use that are about shadow work and deep emotional clearing, connecting to the elements, leveraging animal spirit guides, and you know, emotional clearing, shamanic wisdom teachings. That's a big part of my practice, but it's not all of it. Because I realized when I was going to one of my teachers, and we'd do this like deep, like heavy work, and I'd release a whole lot of density, nothing was put back in its place. So it was wonderful. I released the heaviness, but I also felt like I was hit by a truck, and I didn't feel lighter, because I did feel lighter, but not reset, because I just dumped the trash, but I didn't put the light. I didn't come back into my truth. And so the other side of the equation is the angelic. Let's bring in the peace. Let's bring in the love. Let's bring in the grace. Let's bring in the empowerment. Let's bring in your authentic, true aspect of self. Let's reset that to its natural center. And so that's why in my personal journey, beyond just studying shamanism, I was really drawn to the yogic arts and meditation and crystals and connecting with spiritual guidance and tapping my clairvoyant, clairaudient, and clairsentient abilities to work with guides in the other realms, to be able to bridge all of this kind of more feminine energy. And the shamanic is, all right, the courage to go into the darkness. And the feminine is the grace and the tenderness to hold somebody through their tears, and not just, okay, get that out, and, you know, from a masculine place, which there is place for that. But there is also, as was experienced last night, to just hold somebody gently like Mother Mary, and cuddle them in a beautiful little ball, and allow them to weep. And that is not the time for a rattle. That's time for presence, and to give them permission to honor their tears and feel their grief, and hold that tender feminine space that allows the healing to come from that place.
Yeah.
And then at other times it's heart opening and celebration and yippee, and other times it's like rah. And it's the alchemy that I have fallen in love with, this dance of weaving shamangelic, depending on what is needed in my medicine bag for a person in that moment. And then I would maybe go to somebody else's mat next within a half a second.
Yeah.
I'm holding space for someone's deep grief, like Mother Mary, and then I'm shifting over here and helping this other person release their rage. Somebody else is, reliving and releasing a sexual trauma, so the tools would be very different there. My tone, the sounds that I might use, what I might whisper in their ear will be totally different, and I am shape-shifting all night long.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you can tell. I mean, my eyes are closed the entire time, but it's like that's literally what it feels like is taking place. It's like you can sense your presence moving around the room, but it's like, wait, what is she right now? Like, what is, what was, wait, that's different. Like, what was that? She definitely said something else to the person next to me, than what I just got, Yeah.
This is what's tailored about my whole Shamangelic healing practice. The more tools that I have, if a truck driver from Alabama that's an ex-con is coming through the door, and has, if a supermodel that is dealing with eating disorders and insecurities, and she has, professional athletes coming through the door dealing with haters because they didn't bring home a gold medal, and they have, and a mother of 5 that has lost her identity in the parenting process and really doesn't know who she is anymore. People that have coming into the healing practice with incredible addiction or massive depression, or I'm ready to go to the next level, but what's holding me back? All of these stories and different, puzzles walk in the door, and I get the privilege. I get the deep, humble gift to hold space and listen to and discover how their puzzle is unfolding, where their energy is leaking, where the wounds, where the blocks, where the disconnections have happened, where they've forgotten who they are. And it's such a beautiful, this is why I love this work and it's my dharma, gift to hold space at such a deep level for somebody's things that they've never shared with anyone ever. About the abortion, about the affair, about the addiction. And it's such a blessed opportunity to hold space for the healing and the density, and also the light and the expansion, because ultimately I'm a cheerleader. Totally. I'm not only white, I am also a cheerleader for the soul.
Yeah.
I mean, I used to do that for like Little League and for my kids and little football in high school, but I'm really a cheerleader for the soul, for people to find their shine again. And so many different people come into my healing practice, and with thousands of experiences and different stories, I get to see the commonality with breast cancer and this past, or with this ailment, or this habit, or this addiction. I get to see correlations happening, and people just don't feel so alone.
Yeah, there was a couple of folks last night that talked about this correlation, exactly what you're saying, and they were talking about having asthma.
Yeah.
And you related that to, where did you get stuck? Where did your breath get stuck? Right? And you made the correlation of that happening oftentimes when they're very young. And literally the example you gave was someone in the room had that exact issue and that exact, those exact symptoms. And I just found that so interesting, because in one way we're all such unique, special flowers, but in another way we are all so similar, and there's so many similarities woven throughout our lives. And that's what I got from you, is that you're able to take this wide, vast, expansive experience with different types of people and see the commonalities, which, makes it possible for you to really go in there and get to what needs to come out, be transformed, etc. And so I want to know about what that moment and process looks like for you once you get that, like, okay, I've got the thread and I found the spot where it's stuck. What is it that you do, or what is that energy shift that you can help people make?
Well, it starts whether we're in a Shamangelic breathwork journey or my signature session one-on-one is Shamangelic Healing Journey, where it's just one-on-one. And that discovery is where I'm deeply listening to what's being said, what's not being said, where I can sense the energy is leaking, where that story has a victim thread to it. And so the first part is just taking in all of the information. I'm listening to their spiritual guides speak to me. I'm listening to mine. I'm watching the body language. I'm watching the emotion, the excuses, the denial. I'm watching it all. And when I start to create a map then of where I'll kind of sit for a moment with where do I start first, because there's lots of plugs there's lots of things that need attention. It might be, hey, let's go back to that thing you said about your dad,
right?
Or tell me about this thing where your hand is punching your other hand and you're like, your face is constricted, and I just can't. Let's go back to that moment. And so I'll start to unravel a little bit, and there's coaching and perspective shifting that happens there, because first I'll bring awareness to, hey, that you're actually all up in somebody else's business that actually isn't yours. You're way into your partner's this, or you're way into your daughter's that, and that is their stuff. So let's get back to you, and while you're all making their stuff your stuff. So maybe it's an issue around clear boundaries. Maybe it's where the feminine is blocked and their intuition or their sensitivity is blocked, and they're not honoring that because they were taught not to honor that. So maybe it's an issue of the feminine or masculine being out of balance, or an aspect of the unhealthy feminine or the unhealthy masculine that is wanting to evolve. And so I will likely coach and create perspective there. Maybe it's a chakra energy center that is really blocked or wounded or out of balance in some way. So that the beginning is going to be, let's shift as why this happened for you, or why this keeps repeating. So we're going to get into more of an empowering discussion to look at where the door is open and to the energy leaking, and where they can close it, where they are empowered to make that choice. And we have to see it first. And so the first part is building trust and rapport when they come in, and hearing and understanding the story. And the next is perspective. Let's bring in a guide. Let's understand this aspect of your inner child that needs her voice back, or his power back. And so then I'll go into the healing room, and the personal magic happens there. You have this sweet little cocoony space in Sedona, where on the amethyst crystal biomat, and the setting is just so conducive to a nice cozy womb. And there I am in another space of multidimensional channeling, because what I would think is not at all what is so limited compared to when I'm just allowing divine guidance to say, go to this chakra first. Put your hand here, say this word, bring in this guide, do this guided visualization, and I just allow completely the whole next part of the journey to unfold, tailored in the moment with the insights that were received in the first part of the journey of discovery. And it'll be like, okay, we're going to go to the inner child first, and then we're going to connect with that joyful part again. Now we're going to bring in the villain. It's just like, holy shit. I thought I was happy playing on a swing. Yes.
Right.
And from that place of your innocence, now we're going to see this little boy over there that's also playing, and he's sad. And that's your dad. And he's just a little boy, and he's sad. So let's go over there and let's make friends. And so, we may be a whale, it might be a tree, I'm not in charge. We may drum, we might just breathe. We may go back in time to a prior life. We may use crystals, essential oils, a guided visualization. I may drum tuning forks, and I get to play and dance and be danced.
Yeah. That sounds amazing.
Yes, come to Sedona. The answer is, I've got my calendar right here.
Perfect.
Yeah, we're in. So you've talked a couple of times now about the different sound emitting, what's the word, instruments?
Tools,
tools that we use. And so I'm curious, and I think what you were saying before is that the rattle is a little more shamanic, or maybe a little more, would it be masculine? That's drawing
Chewing,
out.
yeah. Depends on the rattle.
Yeah, okay.
Because there are the rattles that I have are the rattles that I brought back from my very first trip in Peru. And they're here to rattle stuff out. They are a rattle. They break up dense energy. And so that tool would be used to kind of shoo heavy things out. But the chime that we used at the very end of the journey last night, how did that feel?
It's sparkly. There's no other word for it. Because I've thought about it. I've tried to figure out what that feeling is with that chime, and it's like it turns up the inner sparkle.
Yes, thank you. It's my sparkler. I've renamed it. Screw the chime. It's a sparkler now. And that's how did the tuning fork feel when I put it on your heart?
Yeah, you just feel it everywhere in your entire body. It's like it's a concentric circle feeling, right? Like you dropped a rock in a pond, but at whatever frequency that is, right? So it's, it's not just ripples, it's a through the entire body.
Right,
yeah.
And so that weighted tuning fork is specifically for the heart. And so it's got a rubber ball on the end, so that way when you put it on the heart, it vibrates your whole rib cage.
Yeah.
Now if I blend that with an invitation to open the heart, and I'm using words and an essential oil that has rose in it or something that's heart opening, and I drop in an invitation to soften the heart, and here comes the vibration. It's like, what? We're going to get through it. At least we're going to take a few bricks off the wall for sure.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
And this is where people that have been holding their energy so deeply, and the wall's so thick and you're not getting in here, even the toughest start to soften, even just a little bit, or I'll have a complete meltdown and realize I haven't cried in 30 years. You're like, okay,
well,
it was time. But there's no way that can happen without rapport, and there's no way that can happen without safety.
Absolutely.
And trust. And wow, she gets me. Or I respect, the space. And so what I enjoy about vibrations is that they go places words can't. And same with scents, is that the scent of, the essential oil blend that I have that's joy, or that's acceptance, or forgiveness, or sacred mountain, or frankincense. Those all have different frequencies and different medicines in the body. They have a different effect. They'll open or close a different part of us.
Yeah.
And so I love being the blendologist and the alchemist and the integrationalist, and say, ooh, I get to play with my toys.
Yeah.
And weave something that will support someone's journey, experience, release, expansion, going deeper. And maybe it's their joy. Maybe this is going to go over and it's like, and just start laughing and access the inner child that just thinks this is so fucking ridiculous and hilarious, and letting the joy just bubble out.
Right.
And that's medicine too, is just pure laughter.
Yeah.
Sometimes after we go in and do the healing with the villain, if that's what's called for, then hysterical laughter may follow in there, and it's Christmas, it's your birthday.
Yeah.
So.
I had a really deep release last night here in this space, and I've done breath work a few times before, and so coming in, I kind of had obviously a framework of what I thought I was going to experience, and it was so much deeper. And I think the reason it was so much deeper is because the safety and the presence that you held, and then the willingness I had to go there, which was really interesting to me because the willingness I had kept being willing. So if that makes sense, it was like I had willingness to go there, but then it persisted, and that really surprised me because there were times where, the ego or the mind wants to come, okay, stop, that's enough, you've given enough, or you've gone there enough. And I just noticed that I was able to keep going there and keep stepping into it. And that was really surprising to me because I hadn't experienced that before, where I was able to just almost like you keep pushing the envelope a little bit further. And it was really deeply transformative. And you were talking earlier about the tears, and you came over to me and actually put your third eye to my head while I was crying. And it was just so beautiful, because what I felt in that moment was just complete support and love, and just such presence to allow me to release what was there. And I'm just curious, like, what was there for you in that moment? What is there for you? Because I'm releasing this, and I'm just wondering, on your side of the fence, what is that like?
It's such a gift. The opportunity to hold someone in their tenderness, and I get to experience the deepest levels of compassion and unconditional love. There is no story that your tears are wrong, that you should apologize, that it's not appropriate, it's not warranted. In the very beginning, I'm like, tears are holy water here. They're revered, and you're safe to express. Your emotions have intelligence. And so when I get to see, as I'm moving around the room, and I get to see this part of you deeply in grief and just emoting, whatever's underneath it, the Mother Mary in me, and I had to learn how to access Mother Mary, because I certainly wasn't raised with Mother Mary. I was raised with a working mom that was never home. She had 2 jobs, and she was a robot. Bless her sweet little heart. She wasn't there. And thank goodness she was playing the masculine role about being the provider, but I didn't know that. And in my training and in my connecting to the divine, I've trained with Mother Mary. I'm like, show me how to access this, because I have no record of it. I have no reference for it. And so to be that maternal, and is to hold you like a little girl, and to be fully present with your tears, it's such an opportunity. And to take the tears and put them on your heart, or put them on your third eye, and allow these tears to cleanse, to heal. And I just will hold your sweet little head, and cuddle you up and just let you be. So I get to be this safe little blanket for you, and it's such an honor. It's such a privilege. And so what I'm feeling in that moment is total grace and presence for the human experience. And for you individually, I'm completely interwoven with your soul's essence and your tenderness and your radiance, all of it in that moment. There's no separation. And there's tears now coming with both of us right now, because we're feeling how sweet that is, special. And how deeply we all desire that level of presence and unconditional love.
Yeah, and one of the things that really came up for me was, which was surprising, was a deep sense of loneliness.
Yes.
And just to be in that moment with you when you're feeling that, that vulnerability. Was just really, really special,
And I want to acknowledge you for the willingness to go there and be, identify it as, what am I feeling right now? Because if we're so busy distracting in the room, or if we're like, I've done enough breathing, and I'm not going deeper into another layer, you would have never come across this treasure of identifying this as loneliness. And what I shared with you after that, when you identified, hey, this is loneliness, and usually when we're feeling loneliness, because you are surrounded by so many people, it's not like you are in isolation at all. You're very social and connected, but that doesn't mean we're connected to self at a deep soul level. It doesn't mean we're leaving ourselves alone because we're in so much in service of everybody else, and because we're in social activities a lot. We can become untethered and disassociated with our own deep soul essence and our divine connection as well. Kind of going through life through the motions, but still not fully connected. And so that's the invitation. That's the treasure. One of the treasures from last night is what for you when you come out of that and you witness loneliness. What is the next step then for you?
Yeah, it's really interesting. I was thinking about this, and I just think really what it comes down to is exactly what you said. Like, I love to be there for everyone else. It is like, it's part of my dharma, but I'm still learning to balance that, and I'm still learning. Hi. Yeah.
Oh, so just you.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah. And I just think that, I love the upper chakras. I'm like, let's go up there and let's do it and let's create. And I'm just out there, and there's so much enthusiasm and passion for creation that sometimes I just become untethered. And I know this about myself, and I've actually, I was very ill in 2011. My appendix ruptured and landed me in the hospital for a month. And I remember very clearly the message here was like, you've got to stay in your body. Like, you just can't leave it behind and expect it to just deal with whatever you throw at it, because I want to be out here, like doing everything and creating everything. And so this has been a recurring theme for me. And I just felt like, I just have to take time to just literally sit on the ground, right? Just be with the earth, I just need more connection and to give myself permission to do that, because those lower chakras need love too.
And that's where we can create all of this creative and inspiration that comes from the higher realms. And inspiration is to bring spirit in. And to make that into physical form, it will need to go through the physical 3D root chakra.
Right.
And as long as you're out of your body, it can't manifest fully.
Right.
And it requires us to be in a body. Otherwise, we're just angels rather than earth angels.
Yeah.
Totally. Out of the body. Well, that's when we're in our soul essence and we're not in a physical form. And so when we're in the physical form, it's like, oh, I'm here to do it in the body.
Yeah.
Manifest this beautiful idea. And what's wonderful is that those upper chakras are open. And that you have this inspiration and joy, and it's going all the way down to the second chakra around creativity and creation and passion. And the next and the densest is getting it into physical form. And it takes the physical body to do that, because if we're in a hospital, we're not in service. And I want to acknowledge and echo all of that as I'm still navigating, so passionately loving the opportunity and the gift to serve everyone else. It cannot be at the expense of self.
Yeah.
That's just not sustainable. As we're experiencing this with the planet, that we go and we do and we conquer, not at the expense of her, not at the expense of Gaia. Do we have what we want and take what we need? Not if we leave her less whole, because she's our home.
Right.
This body is our home. And it's the same desecration that we're witnessing in our planet that we witness. It's a complete mirror of how we treat our bodies with disrespect and avoidance, and we leave them alone and expect them to take care of us and move us from place to place. And we expect Mother Earth to keep giving us fresh food. Well, not when we poison the waters. Like, it just doesn't make sense. And so we are learning. This is coming up for you. It's rising for me. It's rising for all of us, to be able to see where there are some not sustainable practices and habits and beliefs, even if we are in our dharma and our joy, so that we can have sustainable practices here.
So I really like that analogy of, the way that we treat the earth versus the way, or the separation, I think, of us from nature and the problems that arise from that. And so the separation from our bodies is what? Our soul separating from our body? Like who's the human in that?
Right. And so when we're disconnected to the fact that we are all one, then we don't care about anyone else. We don't care about Mother Earth because we're not really connected to our heart. We're not feeling that sense of reverence and appreciation and gratitude. Then we're in this ego place. We're in this overcoming. And it comes from a lot of the wounds that we've had, because hurt people. And wounded people don't care about consequences. I'll take what I need because I'm in survival mode, and I really don't care. I don't have any consideration or any thought or remorse about what potential impact it has, because I'm in the primal survival mode.
Right.
So there's no consideration there. This is why we do this kind of healing work, so that people can rise out of the primal, I take what I need and I don't care because I need to survive. And when we overcome and work with those healing energies, and we begin to rise above the ego and survival and into heart and divine connection, we're like, whoa, wait a second. When I hurt myself, I hurt another person. When I hurt another person, I hurt myself. And there are levels of awareness now that we weren't capable of accessing when we're in our primal survival mode. And so as we do the individual healing, we do the collective healing, and it helps us turn around and support our brothers and sisters that are still suffering. Because if any one of us is suffering, then we're creating heaviness and distortion and pollution with our energy, with our thoughts, with our anger, with our violence, and with the way we treat ourselves and the planet and other people. And so this is why I see these two as very highly correlated. With the destruction that's happening on the planet is directly correlated to our level of consciousness as humanity. And it can't just be like, okay, well, let's all just be on an island over here. The awake ones go over here. It's like, yeah, but we share waters.
Right.
We share collective consciousness.
Right.
And so if you are awake and connected, awakening, that is your social responsibility as somebody who is more connected to the light, to be a light worker and turn around and serve and support brothers and sisters that maybe you came out of addiction and now you're not, to turn around and support those that are still in the trenches and stuck in the dark shadows of their forest walk, in the dark night of their soul. Like that's how. It's not like, oh, I'm rising, I'm awake, I'm going to the pearly gates alone. It's like,
got it. See you guys.
Cool.
See you guys
later. I got the golden ticket. Too bad for you. And we're realizing that, we really are. As we rise in the chakras from survival to collective consciousness, we realize we're family. And your pain is my pain. And that doesn't mean I have to hold it, but I can be aware of it, and I can dance into the awareness that I, through bringing it all the way into the body, can bring love awareness to kind of hold support for somebody else to release their density and remember who they are, so that we're all becoming more a part of the solution than part of the problem. And this kind of work gives each of us, wherever you are on that spectrum, the invitation to keep looking at where am I still stuck in a pattern, where is the shadow sabotaging my health or my self-care, where is this excuse that I don't matter but everybody else is more important, or there's not time to take care of self, or the addiction to taking care of everybody else. I mean, we get to keep, as we grow, we get to keep unraveling the layers where we're still stuck, and it's all good.
Yeah. So, but in the interest,
it's all good. It's all good.
In the interest of keeping it all good, like how do you protect yourself in all of this? Like, because I've experienced, like in the technical terms in my old line of work, we would call it cross-contamination, right? Where somebody's got something going on and you're trying to help them, and then you take on a portion of that burden. And I wasn't even in the business of taking on people's burdens, and you fundamentally could be. It's like, how is it that you create that?
Not my burden.
Yeah.
I'm holding space to witness and to honor it's your burden. I am super clear about that. It's not that I don't care, but I can't hold it. I've had all kinds of digestion problems, and this is, one of the reasons why this work is so valuable, is that we can release the stuff that we're holding that isn't even ours.
Right.
Because I love you as a partner, or you're my dad, or you're my mom, or you're my sibling, I feel obligated to hold this for you. And that's not what love is. That's not what an earth angel came to do. And so I'm very clear that my role is to stay grounded in my body and connected to the light as I hold space to witness your classroom. It's your karma. It's your density. And this is where the shamanic guide goes into the darkness with you, because I'm not afraid of the darkness. I've had plenty of my own addictions and like all kinds of, rage and deep depression and core wounds. I've had all kinds of that. And I'm not afraid of the darkness. So that allows me to go into a deep exploration of where and how your shadow looks. It's not going to devour me because I know I'm connected to light. That's so I've had, entities like right in my face, and I'm like, but this is a temple for light, so there's no door open here for you. I'm sorry you're so lonely and seeking home. How can I support you? What happened to you that you got untethered and angry? And so this is my training, and in the healing work that I do, as I I actually teach people how to do this kind of work. Right at the very beginning, we're working on clear boundaries. We're working on how to clear your energy, because the energy vampire is me if I make your burden mine.
Right.
Do you follow that?
Yeah, totally.
That's in your lane. And you can try to make it mine, and if I still have stuff that I want to be the accommodator and the pleaser and the rescuer, again, I'm the energy vampire, not you. And you can want that from me, and I can judge you as, you take my energy, and I must not have clear boundaries. I must not know the difference between what is yours and what is mine. To me, that's really clear. It didn't used to be. Right. And in relationship, it's really kind of sticky. You're like, wait, did I just kind of make you a problem here? And so there's the opportunity to whoopsies, I went into your lane. I got into your lane about that story with your boss or that person, that sibling that you're having a fight with. I took it on, and I'm a little bit angry at that person for you. I'm like, who's the energy vampire? I'm living in your space, inappropriate. So I teach a whole course just on clear boundaries, and 98% of the time we're moving into somebody else's space, and we're not having a clear thing. It's like, wait, that's not yours. Yeah. Well, but I don't want them to suffer. Okay, well, they might.
Yeah.
In fact, they will. Let's just say that outright. The truth is they're going to suffer because they're in a classroom of their own creation. And for the lessons that they're not paying attention, it's going to repeat. And that's their suffering. They're creating it. And it's okay. From great suffering comes damn, I need to make a change. Yeah. And so I see the beauty in someone suffering and not I have to stop it immediately. Right. There's a pearl there. And whether they choose to look at it or not, also not in my control. And so I find that I'm all up in somebody else's trying to force them to. I was doing that with my brother, trying to force him to sober up. I was doing it with my dad, trying to force him to change his diet. That's not my business. But I can't. What is my business is to bring love instead of judgment and control and manipulation into their space. And so I've had lots of great teachers and lots of wonderful, humbling experiences around where I wasn't honoring clear boundaries and my agenda was crossing over into their life, and I was imposing my will of what I wanted for them, or what I wanted for them so it would make me more comfortable. When you're not depressed, it sure makes me feel better.
Right.
Because your depression is really bugging me. And so it was learning how to honor depression without letting it affect my joy, my shine, my sparkle, and to witness it without judging it. Just, that's depression, or that's anxiety, or that's blame, and just be like, I've been there. I can relate to that. I can understand what and how can I bring compassion into this space instead of my agenda or my control or pushing or, hey, you should do this. So it's been it's a work in progress. But I'm super clear in clients so that I can be in a room full of people releasing all kinds of stuff and know exactly what to do with it and sleep well at night.
I love that.
Yeah, that's good.
I've been doing this for almost 20 years.
You've been at it for a minute.
I would not be in the physical body. I'd be probably in ICU with chemo at this point if I didn't learn how to really joyfully stay in my lane. Especially with clients, for sure.
Yeah. I mean, it's so important that I mean, certainly in the work that you do, and to some degree with what we do, but I mean, at the relationship level, I mean, there's so many things that I picked up on from what you were just saying that's like, that I know people can relate to. That's that thought of, getting roped into someone else's thing.
It's so easy.
And you're not, it's like so seldom. And this is something that I've thought, and so I'm actually really glad that you kind of validated it for me. What to do about it from my perspective, I'm still unclear on. But to some degree, it's like you don't really get roped into other people's things. You rope yourself into other people's things. It's like so seldom that somebody's like, hey, come over here and worry about what I'm worried about. It's like you're like, oh, what's going on with you? How can I get involved in that? Because I have some kind of energy drama that I like to feed on or whatever. But the thing, and so this is the thing that I've always kind of known, is that it's easy for me to draw the boundary and be like, hey, look, that's not my shit. But what I am figuring out, or still trying to work on, is how to do that and also still be compassionate and kind. Because it's like, it's either on or off. Right. And I'm like, I'm 43 years old. I'm kind of like I think maybe a year ago I realized that there's something besides on and off, and so it's a work in progress, right? But it's just in listening to you talk about it, I'm like, this is so foundationally important to maintaining a healthy relationship with
anyone for any reason. That's a great question. All of these are great questions. You guys are amazing. I love it. So in that space, we get to practice being the observer rather than the rescuer and the fixer. And people do want to rope you in. Oh my God, do you believe what he did? And she said this thing. And, that's gossip. That gossip is an invitation to be roped in. And you get the opportunity there to whether or not to be roped in. And that this is where discernment comes. And that says, do you want to give this energy right now? And like, oh my God, what happened? Is different than if I'm holding space and I'm just being the observer. I'm not getting emotionally involved in it. Like, oh, that's terrible. I'm not judging it as right, wrong, good, or bad. I'm not taking sides. I'm just observing. And that, I think, is really where the clear boundary begins. How can I practice being the observer? And I'll notice when I've crossed over, when I'm feeling guilt or I'm having an emotional charge, or I'm starting to express language of bad, wrong, this isn't right, they shouldn't do that, and I'm getting all riled up. Now I am actually no longer the observer to somebody else's experience. I'm the participant in their battle or their gossip or their betrayal. I'm in it, and I've allowed it. And so this is where we get to practice holding space when a partner or a loved one is having an emotional meltdown. It's not about you. You don't have to fix it. You don't have to tell them they should do this or do that. Initially, just practicing being the observer and attentive, active listening, not where you need to react and correct or tell them, well, this is what you need to do about that. Is to just practice holding space in your own space for what they're going through. And that's a craft. To be an active listener, completely engaged. I'm still listening. I'm still completely present. In fact, when I'm not playing the coach and when I'm not playing the here's what you should do next, and that's awful, and I'm not bringing my emotion into it, then then I can actually hold space with even greater intention, more presence, because I'm not formulating my response.
Right.
Yeah.
Totally. You're not like, oh, okay, let's see. What am I going to do? This is a blue 42 play.
Exactly.
On the corner.
And that's really where presence happens, where we're just learning to hold space. Not hold the thing, not hold the drama, but hold the space for what somebody's going through. Now, if I just got back from a hellish day and I am not feeling well, and I may not physically, emotionally, and energetically be in the space to hold space, that's another clear boundary. I may need to communicate that to my dearest loved one, sweetheart, lovey-dovey boo-boo, whatever your pet name is. I want to honor what you're going through right now. And I also want to honor what I'm going through right now. And I hear that you're needing to vent about this, and I'm actually not in the space right now. Not that you don't deserve someone that can hold the space. I just want to let you know that I'm not emotionally and energetically available right now for this. After I eat, because I'm a bit hangry, after I have some water, after I decompress, which may be later tonight or tomorrow, I'll be more emotionally available to hold space in the way in which you deserve.
Beautiful. I love
and
that.
I may not, so we may need to negotiate there, and they'll be like, well, I need this right now. And you can say, I hear that you need it right now. I'm going to close the door and go take my bath because I cannot, unless I'm at the expense of self. Because in that moment, if I'm way out of balance, I will take it all on. Because I'm super sensitive and I'm not in my center. And that's another way, is that I don't facilitate a ceremony like that if I'm not in my center.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
Like if somebody just died, I'm not I'm not available for that.
Right.
And so this is part about clear boundaries, is also understanding and listening to, am I in the space right now to hold this? Because if I'm not picking up the phone. I'm not saying yes to this. We're going to negotiate the right time. And that the person might feel rejected. That's their interpretation of you honoring space in a way in which you are wanting to love them. That's why it's important to validate, instead of just like, look, I can't deal with your drama right now, bitch.
Right. right.
Like, take that somewhere else, You do. I can't deal with it. We might learn to articulate that with a little bit more grace. But it takes a self-inquiry in order to come to that. How am I doing? Am I in the space? And after 60 minutes of ranting, I might reach my capacity.
Right.
I might be like, babe, it's 3 a.m. and I just want you to know I have about 3 minutes left of capacity here, just because I'm feeling the need to honor my rest. And so whatever else you need to express within the next 3 minutes, I'm happy to hold space for you. And then I'm going to move into self-care. And so this is where we get to witness and language a little bit differently, because you're not always in the same energetic space. And instead of just venting, if you are in that place, it's a beautiful practice to ask, hey, are you in a space to allow me to vent for a few minutes? You're asking permission instead of just vomiting on somebody, roping them in without permission. So one of the things that I've learned to do is saying, hey, you know what, I'm working through something right now. Do you have space to just let me bounce some things or vent a little bit or just express so that I can come to whatever solution I need to with a sounding board? And they might say, actually, I've got an appointment, and can I catch you later? And so we negotiate for timing there.
Yeah, I like that. So this is one of the things that Vanessa and I have noticed about being in business together. And because everybody's like, oh man, how does that work? And for us, honestly, it's been one of the best things for our relationship. Our need to communicate at a business level has 10x'd our ability to communicate on a personal level. And it goes back and forth, but we do the same thing. It's like do you have time for this? No, but in 5 minutes we can talk about it. Okay.
Negotiate.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And when we're talking business stuff, it's really easy. You know, and somehow that might feel cold at a relationship level, but it's not. It's very real, you know.
It makes so much sense. Yeah.
And when you're in a couple, in a business with a best friend or a partner or something like that, and you also have another relationship outside of the business that is social or intimate, you also need to be able to say the bedroom is not where we talk about business.
Right.
Yeah.
As much as like it might come into your mind, hey, did you do that thing, or did you send that email? Like that is the bedroom is the no-fly zone for business.
Yeah.
And so we also get to compartmentalize a little bit so that those hats that are business and logistics are not those kind of more processed things are not coming into the bedroom space where we want to allow more tenderness and a little different part of the brain and a little different part of the body and the feelings to have the space. And so clear boundaries about that, like at this time we don't do that anymore.
Right. We're
and
done.
In these rooms we don't talk about that anymore.
Yeah. We're pretty good actually about turning it off. Like once we decide it's time, it's almost like you can't turn it back on even if you tried. You're like, it's done. Right? It's done for the day.
This is what's cool about the turn off and the turn on switch.
Yeah,
Turn that off so we can turn it on.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's turn on something else.
One down, one up.
Yes. It's so good.
So we are coming up almost on an hour, but I have to go here before we wrap because you work so much with animal spirit guides, and we haven't talked about those yet. And I just really want you to just talk about what's there around animal spirit guides and whatever you feel like would be helpful for people to hear, how to experience them or how to watch for them, just anything that you feel would be beneficial for our audience.
Cool. I have a whole podcast on that.
Awesome.
So the Shamangelic Healing Podcast, there's one on animal spirit guides and shamanic wisdom teachers. So go check that out. People love that podcast. So that's something. And we'll do some free gifts for everybody as well. So animal spirit guides, in the shamanic way, a lot of the Native American tribes would consider the animal spirit guides as relations. Aho matakoyasan means to all my relations. That's the sun, that's the hawk, that's the snake, that's the tree, that's the water, that's the flower, that's the cactus. And they didn't see them as separate the way we do. Oh, you're my relative, uncle, mother, you're my blood relative. And they had no separation between when a gust of wind would come. Oh, that's my spiritual counsel. That's great spirit kissing my cheek or wrapping me in a blanket. And that's grandmother moon and that's father sun. And so they used relative terms. And so with animal spirit guides, I invite you to pay attention to what animals tend to frequent your living environment. Who's hanging around a lot. Is like what what animals are in your everyday life, because those are likely, there's some clues there. If it's bear or a deer or a certain kind of bird, here we are. And this has been such a rich experience with the animal spirits, and when I'm in Sedona too, rich experience with the animal spirit guides. The first night, skunk, and we saw a skunk last night. And the skunk is about what we've been talking about: clear boundaries. 100%. And so they only spray when they feel like their boundary hasn't been honored. So they actually will scent to let others know, this is my boundary. This is what we've been talking about, having a clear communication. I need to go to sleep now. I have 5 more minutes, or this isn't the right time. That's where we can express a clear boundary before we get to asshole bitch. It's like, I'm going to spray you. Get out of here. I'm going to have to go aggro to create a clear boundary because I didn't speak it calmly and politely. And so we pay attention to what an animal is doing or when it shows up. And so the other thing, I was having a client session out here on the deck, and I'm talking about finding the playfulness again. And I look out to the ocean, there's the sparkle of the fin, and there's the dolphins.
Yeah.
And it's just like, where are you finding the joy again? And so I pay attention always. I have one whole foot in that realm of paying attention to what spirit is saying through the animals or through the elements. Always. I'm always paying attention to that. Ravens showing up. Where is there a warning, or where do I need to pay attention to something? Always shows up when I'm speeding, I swear. Thank you for saving me an accident or a ticket. And so the raven or the crow will show up as a warning. He's a guardian. It's mysterious and magical, and like, pay attention to things. And we have also had here, where we were on the deck today talking about, literally, we had just pulled a card and we were talking about seeing something from a bigger perspective, and 2 hawks show up, like literally right in front of our eye view, and are circling above. And this is about precision and perspective and insight. Go rise above from that argument. Rise above from that financial, problem that you keep repeating, or that cycle that keeps repeating. Rise above and get a bigger perspective of it. And like that deep sight. And so we've had bees, you bee beautiful, bee wellness. And well, you know what bee medicine is, and that community and working together, we are stronger as a tribe. And so these are all animal spirits. Yesterday on the hike, it was butterfly everywhere, and just, we were literally dancing with butterflies yesterday in the canyon. And this is transformation and rebirth. And so each animal has its own medicine. So pay attention to the ones that are like in your neighborhood that you take for granted because there's probably something. Or you think, oh, that spider, what's it doing here? Or the animals that you just think are bugging you. They might be a bug, or they might be an insect. And it's like, yes, that's a relative, that's a relation. What is it trying to tell me? So Animal Speak is a great book that you can order online from Ted Andrews, and there's pages on lots of different animals. And so first, intuitively, it's nice for you to just check in with, when an animal shows up, what do you think? What do you watch the animal? It will show you. Why does it have stripes? Why does it have legs or wings? Is it in the water? Does it fly? Because that's going to give you some indication about what is its medicine. Like eagle is that freedom. We were last night about courage and freedom and unshackling. Anything that flies is going to be the medicine of liberation from the density and gravity. And depending on whether it's gone through a metamorphosis, like a butterfly would be different than an eagle.
Right.
And so I love playing in that realm of listening to what an animal spirit is bringing, and always leaving offerings when I go on the land. Thank you. We made a beautiful little offering yesterday on the land to thank the plants and the animals that inhabited the land. We were walking in their living room.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
And so we were the guests, and so we leave it better than we found it, and we pick up trash along the way. Because that's what you would do if you were in someone's house. You would leave it better than you found it if you were a guest, if you were conscious and mindful of your footprints. And so what animals have been coming up for you guys, or tend to be circling around?
We get a lot of squirrels.
We do get a lot of squirrels.
Right? So what is the medicine?
Yeah.
What's the medicine? Read it.
Well, it goes back to me all over the place, right? I'm over here, over there. Oh,
Yeah.
I want to do this. Oh, no, I want to do that. Yeah, it's just like, but also super playful. That is one thing I've learned about squirrels, is that they're like having the best time all the time.
Yeah.
Like they're like, life is their playground, and they're like literally just, they're so playful. I never really realized
They're
that.
like
But
climbing trees and going up, down, uptown, downtown. What else? What else, Adam?
What else do we have?
And
Or
but
what
the
else about
squirrel
the squirrel?
also does what? Besides run around and be quite playful, well, functionally, what do they do?
they're always preparing for.
Oh yeah, they are. Yeah,
That's it.
They're always preparing for something.
Yep.
They're collecting.
They're
stashing their nuts for.
Yeah.
So this is safe for a rainy day. Be mindful of that. Save some energy
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Save some energy for a rainy day. Save some abundance for a rainy day. Some resources, your time, energy, your health. Save some for a rainy day. So it's good.
Smart little squirrels.
I know,
Smart
right?
little squirrels.
Right?
We do actually,
figure it
we do
out.
see dolphins somewhat regularly too. Like when, obviously living by the beach will.
Yeah, ups the odds.
Yeah, it does.
Right.
But it's, recently, it's been a couple months now, but we had these dolphins that were literally, we were on the beach walking and it felt like they were literally going with us.
100%.
Like we walked the whole length of the beach and they kept swimming alongside of us. And, obviously being surfers too, you'll see them out there a lot. And that's
And
definitely.
this is when you see an animal like that and you feel like, is it, am I tripping right now? Is it following? Talk to him. Mm-hmm. Say hello.
Yeah.
Good morning. It's good to see you, brothers and sisters.
Yeah.
Like you are dolphins. I'm a dolphin, and acknowledge their kinship. Say, hey, thanks for seeing. Good morning. It's good to see you guys.
Yeah.
Like just as you
totally.
would two friends.
Totally.
And so I invite you to converse with the animals that are around. Good morning, squirrel. Oh, I'm going to climb a tree with you.
Right.
And they just want to engage. It's not your imagination. One of the first times I was when I had first moved into Sedona, and we have lots of hummingbirds here, which is also go find the joy.
Yeah.
And dance and sing about
I
it.
see a lot of hummingbirds
Yes,
too.
hummingbird is
personally,
also that higher frequency of don't hold back your joy. It's inspiring. It's beautiful. And I remember walking on the land in Sedona, and I heard that, the sound of the hummingbird. And so I looked first, and I didn't see it, but I heard it. And I said, good morning. I just said hello, and I'm just walking on the land by myself. I'm having a conversation with a bird.
Yeah.
That's what I do.
course.
It's my relation. Right? Good morning. Oh, what a lovely song you have. Or I just complimented it. I'm like, it's so good to hear you. Thank you for singing to me this morning. And it popped out of the tree, and it was like,
What?
are you talking to me? And it came up right in my face. It was like, are you talking to me? I said, I am talking to you. And it was like, and it went away, and then it looked back like, are you really talking to me? I am really talking to you. And then it proceeded to have this aerial acrobatic show for me where it went, look what I can do. And it was like, it went way, way super high up, and then it would dive down. I'm like, oh no, what happened? I was like, just kidding, here I am. And it would bounce back up again. And I would just, for 15 minutes straight, this hummingbird and I were having the most beautiful, totally engaging, complete connection of joy and appreciation and laughter and entertainment. And it was absolutely not in my imagination.
No.
And this is one of the things about the shamanic realms is I've realized, oh, wait, there's this whole other realm that is alive here. Whether I perceive an animal as a relative or just in my way is a mindset perception. And in my healing practice, the blue jay will come during, when somebody is needing to speak their truth. The hawk will come, or when somebody's needing grounding, the cardinal will come, and coyote will go by. I mean, it is amazing, raven. And so I also will work in the different animal spirits to say, this messenger is coming to bring the medicine of, hey, sister, brother, it's time to speak your truth on this. It's time to advocate for yourself. So they're bringing messages, guidance, inspiration, warnings. And I find it to be an aspect of spiritual guidance for me, 100%. And deep, deep medicine that I love to carry, because they're just... it's a lot of fun. So you know what? We'll have for your audience a guided animal spirit journey.
Perfect.
Oh,
A
cool.
really
That's perfect
cool
for our
free
audience.
gift
That's perfect.
for your audience.
That'll be awesome. Yeah, that'll be right up their alley.
Absolutely.
A lot of times we will actually draw animal spirit cards before we do our podcast, but we didn't bring them with us. We should have done that.
Yeah.
Oh, I have some.
I know you do. Yeah, we'll have to do it for yours.
Okay, that sounds
there. We go. So everyone's gonna have to go listen to that one to see what we drew.
Yeah.
Yes, and yes.
Yeah. Thank you so much for this podcast. It was beautiful, and just so grateful that our good friend Josh Trent connected us.
Yes.
And he knew.
He knew.
Yeah.
He just knew, and I just adore him. I want to give him a shout out again because I just love him, and
Yes.
he has connected us a few different times, and with people who have really become sacred friends and connections in our lives, and he knew. So
Yes,
thanks,
he
Josh.
knew.
I
Like
love
he's
you.
come and done breath work and private sessions, and was living in Sedona for a couple months. And so dear brother, it's been such an honor to connect with other dolphin tribe that are really doing wonderful work. I want to acknowledge each of you for the joy that you're saying yes to, and everything that you're shedding and releasing, so that you can visit those frequencies, embody those frequencies, share them, and help others with them as well. So honored to be in this community with both of you, and I know that it's a beginning for all of us of more magical things ahead.
Absolutely. So where can folks find more about your practice, about all of your events, everything?
Well, Shamangelichealing.com is the hub for all of that. So that's, I'm a certified high performance coach because, again, of course, I'm a cheerleader. So let's improve. Let's meet your dreams, and let's do it in a way where I'm going to, there's online versions of that, so that way people can get, if they can't do a one-on-one coaching with me. So I'm really here to support people's transformation, empowerment, and finding their shine, and living a life they love, and really finding their dharma. So I run the Shamangelic Healing Practice in Sedona. There's a Shamangelic Healing Podcast, which you guys are going to be on, and I can't wait to have you guys share with me with our audience, some of your magic. So that podcast, it's great. There's tons of phenomenal interviews with our buddy Josh Trent. He's on there. And there's meditation. Aubrey Marcus is on there. Whitney's on there, and JP Sears is on there. It is a wonderful array of spirituality, courage, shadow work, meditation, codependent. There's a whole podcast just on codependency and dealing with overcoming dramas in relationship. So there's a lot of phenomenal episodes. So I highly recommend go checking that out. And coming up in Sedona, relatively soon, I love to work, of course, with the sun cycles and the seasons. And for the spring equinox, we're going to be in Sedona on March 20th through the 22nd, and actually planting actual crystals back into the soil, placing our intentions there. It's going to be just 2.5 days. I'm taking a small group of people. We're going to go out on the land. We're going to do shamangelic breathwork, inspirational workshops, and troubleshooting for each individual. There's the opportunity for a hot seat to get after issues. So that spring equinox retreat is on the website right now. It's already filling fast, so nab your spot and come play with me and bring in, plant your seeds of intention with me in these vortexes in Sedona. If you are interested in the healing arts, for sure, the training is a phenomenal, I hold a high integrity bar for really exploring the healing modalities and breathwork facilitator training. It's 2 weeks, 1 week in April and 1 week in August, and we go deep. Both intensives are required. They weave together. And so for those that are interested in the healing arts or already have a practice and want to add more tools, that would be a great opportunity. Or if you're facilitating retreats and want to add this to your medicine bag.
I know.
Hi. Hello.
I know. I was looking at those dates last night. I took the flyer. I was like, let's see if we can make this work. Because I think that this medicine is amazing.
Yes.
And if we can't have you living with us, then we might need to learn a little more.
Right? Exactly. So we'll travel, you know. So if people are into, sometimes people just come to Sedona. I have a lot of clients just come to Sedona because they want to come there to celebrate their birthday, or do some couples work, or kind of do their own personal retreat or an individual session to clear out some density and bring in the light. So come to visit me in Sedona, and So those events, everything, all the online Quantum Leap program, which is online coaching and a group community, that's phenomenal because I just want everybody to have access to it. So I was wanting to make sure that if you couldn't come to Sedona and you wanted more, the videos and the exercises and the interaction of the group and Zoom calls really helps people step by step put your life together and build a foundation for thriving. So. And that's financially accessible for sure. And like, I just want people to, feel the call that it's knocking. They wouldn't be listening to this podcast for sure if they weren't feeling a knocking inside.
Right.
And my invitation is to just open the door and start exploring what's on the other side that your soul has already said yes to. And I've just devoted my life to supporting people in that process of opening the door and walking through it and being supported in the process of remembering who they are and why they came here. So
Beautiful.
Yay!
Beautiful.
Yes.
With that, I mean, I feel like mic drop. Drop the mic.
I could drop a lapel mic.
Yes.
Gently.
Yes. Thank you guys.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
and on
you
the
so
socials, like Instagram, I'm on the Grammit, so go
Grammit.
Go Grammit, and Facebook and YouTube and all of that, but there's inspirational stuff on all of those channels for sure.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dolphin Pod.
Yay.
After this, we're going to go hop in the ocean.
Exactly.
Just got to do it. All right, Bliss Forth.
Thanks for listening, guys. I hope you enjoyed that podcast. We certainly enjoyed it tremendously.
Tremendously.
I was going to see if I could make tremendously and Shamangelic into a word, but it's actually quite hard.
Tremendously. Quite a bit.
Quite a bit.
Word.
Yes.
AKA.
So make sure you download your animal spirit guide from Anahata. And this is the moment when we make that request that you stop what you're doing for a moment, pick up your phone, open your iTunes, scroll halfway down your screen where you see the stars. You click those 5 stars. Right below it on the left-hand corner, there's a button that says write a review. You write us an awesome review if you enjoyed this podcast. And if you've been listening, it really means the world to us. And we really appreciate if you could stop and do that now. Let us know that you did it. We're going to start reading some of those on air.
Yeah.
So that you guys can...
So they better be good.
They better be good. They better not suck.
We're talking to you, Power Ranger 53.
All right. Well, that's it, folks. That's all we have for you. We will see you next week. We have another amazing podcast. Yes, we have another amazing podcast.
Next week.
I'll see you soon. Bye.